wonderful that the chief opens the door of the Vihara to people who come in here. The talk is supposed to be about opening the door of your heart. But I always say this hall here is the heart of the Buddhist Vihara here. So we should always open the doors to as many people as possibly could come in, which is wonderful, so we can share the Dhamma with everybody. And just in case I think the PA system was not clear, my disease he was talking about is called hepatitis B, which is very different than hepatitis. It's happytitis, and it's extremely contagious. And the B stands for Buddhism. So anyway, and it's a great pleasure, thank you for letting me come to this Buddhist Vihara here. I have come here many, many times, but if I come here too often, then people other places complain. So I come to other places and the chief complains. And so there's not enough of me, which is one of the reasons why I start these franchises overseas, which, as you know, we call my monk factories. Monk factories and nun factories to make more and more monks to share in the world, which they're doing now, which is a wonderful thing to do. So anyway, the 5 precepts. And we do obviously the 3 refuges as well. So can we all do the Namo Tassa together? Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. That completes the 3 refuges. I will now give you the 5 precepts. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Kamesu Miccācara Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Musavada Veramani Sikkhapada Samadhiyami. Surameraya Majjappamatthana Veramani Sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very good. When you were taking especially the 5 precepts, I was looking at each one of you because, oops, there we go. Whoa. My goodness. How much we got here? Water, tea, sugar. Yes, very good service in this Maha Vihara. Okay, put it down. Okay. Because some years ago, when I went to Thailand, that's fine. Okay, you may go. For the first time, I saw with my own eyes when somebody was giving taking the precepts. They had their hand up in Anjali, but they had one finger down. And I'd never seen that before. They had chanting all those 5 precepts perfectly, but one finger was down. So I asked another monk, what does that mean? And that meant, he said, they're only taking 4 precepts today. And that's why I looked at each one of you, just to make sure. But then I started looking even closer. And if you look closer, is that right? 1, 2. No, that's right. They had only 3 fingers up anyway. That's like that. That means there's 2 precepts they weren't taking. And of course, you look even closer. What do you see? One person with all. They weren't keeping any precepts. So that's one of the reasons why, in a place like this, if you want to take the 5 precepts and you chant the 5 precepts, what is more important than ever is keeping them. As long as you keep them, then of course the monks here, the Mahasangha, would feel very happy that you're very good Buddhist practitioners. Anyway, just on the way here, I was talking about what sort of subjects do you want to discuss, here in Malaysia. And apparently, people think it's difficult times. There's lots of hardship, lots of upheavals, lots of difficulties, depression and anger in our world. And I think, my goodness, it's always been like that. But the wise people, they never sacrifice their precepts to make a difference. They never get violent or even get critical of other people. This is just the introduction. It's one of the Buddhist sutras which I always recommend people to look at, the Arana Vibhanga Sutta, the Buddha's teaching on non-conflict. And there it says very simple things. You never criticize the person. You only criticize the act, or the bad acts, which they sometimes do. And a good example of how we can use, not pointing out to a certain person, and not even getting angry, but using your wisdom and what we call skillful means to overcome problems. Because a gentleman in Perth told me this story. He owned and ran a little business repairing vehicles. And when he turned up early in the morning to open up his workshop, he found that somebody had parked their car in his driveway to his workshop, to his garage. and he couldn't get into his own garage because the car was blocking the way. And there was nobody there, so he called up the local council who were responsible for parking, and they said they'd send an officer out immediately to put a sticker on the car. That doesn't help me, said the owner of the workshop. Putting a sticker on the car still means I can't get in my workshop. He said, well, that's the law. We put a sticker on for 7 days, and if he hasn't moved the car in 7 days, then we can tow it away. That means I can't work for 7 days. My business is stuck for 7 days. That's the law. Now, what would you do? This gentleman used his wisdom, skillful means. His car was outside, he couldn't get into his workshop. So immediately he drove his car to the local government offices, the council offices, and he parked his car in their driveway. So none of the council workers could get in to do their work. And they came out and said, you've got to move your car, sir. He said, put a sticker on it, I'll move it in 7 days. You know what happened next? They moved the offending car in front of his driveway, and then he drove off from his driveway, from the council driveway. Skillful means. There's always another way of doing things in our world. Not with anger and violence, but finding nice ways to solve the problems of the world, and it makes everybody happy. No one gets depressed. A lovely story to share with everybody, and it means that we can have a much more peaceful, harmonious society, which of course is so important. As more and more people are in this world, we need to have more harmony, more peace, more cooperation. And I was mentioning this in the car, for just one more little anecdote. Many years ago, this German national came over to Perth. He was one of our key members of our Buddhist Society of Western Australia. And he came from West Germany before they had the unification of West Germany and East Germany. At that time, West Germany had one of the most powerful, strong economies in the world. Together with Japan and West Germany, they were right at the top. And he told me that his friends at work asked him, oh, that must be because you have to work so hard in West Germany. He said, no, I work much harder here in Australia. But how come the Australian economy is not as good as the West German economy? His answer was, because in West Germany, he said, we all work like this, in the same direction, identifying the common good, the goals we want to achieve, and we work together. But he said in Australia, we work against one another. Imagine that was a soccer team, and the right back of the Liverpool club were tackling the centre forward of the Liverpool club. Of course, they'd never get anywhere and score a goal if you were fighting inside your own team, which is one of the reasons why we do need to have harmony, a common cause, and we never enter politics, or we never enter being a chief monk for the sake of gain. It's really hard work, isn't it, Venerable? The only reason I became a chief monk, because the one who was chief at the time, he disrobed and got married. I never planned for that. I thought if you were a second monk, have a much easier life. So anyway, that's a little bit about trying to have some peace and harmony so we can all work together, no matter what race, religion, or gender, age, and that way we can have a harmonious world. Anyway, that's what I think, and I have a nice world. A lot of happiness, a lot of peace, a lot of joy of solving problems in the world using Dhamma. So, that is just warming up, I hope. Now I anticipate that you can come up to the microphones and ask your questions. And to encourage people to come up to the microphones to ask your questions, I will give a special prize to the first, this is called marketing, a special prize to the first person who comes up to the microphone to ask a question. Do you want to know what the prize is first? It's a free haircut. Oh, we've got one. Yes, you can come later on and I'll get the razor and we can give you a free haircut. It's optional. You don't need to. You can always give it to somebody else, like your son or something. So open up people's hearts. It is true that we sometimes see so much negativity in this world, but we also at the same time see so much beauty and happiness and people who actually do good things in our world. But do they go in the newspapers? No. Do they get photographs of people who do good things? No. I'm going to ask you to see if you can picture in your mind the home in which you live, where you have many photographs on the wall. On the wall of your house, maybe in the front room, you have a photograph of like when you graduated from college, throwing up your hats in the air, your graduation photograph. But do you ever have any photographs of you doing the exams and getting stressed out with the assignments? No, you only have the happy photographs. Do you have the photographs of when you go on holiday overseas on the wall? Yes. But do you ever have the photographs of lining up through the customs and immigration checks? Do you have those? No. You know, recently, not this trip, but a trip before, the customs officer over in Perth said, "Have you got any liquids in your bag?" I said, "No." "Any hair gels?" I said, "Come on." And even better, over in the United States, they looked at me and said, "What have you got under your robe? Is it a suicide belt?" I said, "No, only fat." He said, "Same thing." Suicide belt, fat, summer. But do you have photographs of all the hard work? No. You choose the happy times to put photographs on your wall of your house. Why do we do that? Because it brings us up happiness, good memories, pleasant experiences, rather than the negative ones. I've never seen, when I go to people's houses for some dana or some ceremony, I've never seen a photograph of them in hospital with dengue, with all the tubes coming out of them. They don't put those photographs. They put photographs when they've climbed the mountains, but never when they are sick. Of course we don't do this because we want the happy memories. The happy memories are there. But sometimes we forget to look at them, which is one of the reasons why we get so negative and depressed in life. So it's great to have a photograph album on your iPhone with happy photographs on. That's one of the reasons why I don't mind being photographed with a happy smile to overcome people's depression. Available. It's not that life is easy for Ajahn Brahm. I work really hard. I'm supposed to be resting now. It's not that I was on holiday in UK. I was teaching here and teaching there, retreats, and so much work. But as soon as you land, more work. So once, I think over in Singapore, when I gave a talk about open the door of your heart and having positive thinking and being kind, looking for harmony, this gentleman, he came up to the microphone and his question was almost like just a comment. He said, it's all right for you monks to say how to live peacefully and happily. And he said, because you don't have to do the work we have to do. And then I responded by telling him what I had done that day. Usually getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, then starting work or meditating, and throughout the whole day, because I was teaching, there wasn't even a gap for a rest. Even lunch is work for us. We have to give advice, tell stories, explain things, give precepts. Even lunch time is work time for us. So that day I'd worked, it was about 10 o'clock at night. I listed all the different things I'd done that day. And after I'd done that, he came to the microphone and he said, wow, I never knew how hard a modern monk has to work. Before I heard that, I was always planning to be a monk one day, but not now. Oh, I lost a monk there. But anyway, even science has shown that the stress which makes people depressed is nothing to do with the amount of work you do, but everything to do with the attitude you have to that work. The positive attitude, a good attitude, taking it on as a challenge, making it joyful, having humor in the office. Well, I never told the chief, because I'd just come back from England. Everyone was talking about Brexit. And I can't take a stand either way, for or against, but as somebody told me, if Brexit happens, then UK will be Buddhist. You know why? Because it's one of the Buddhist sayings, which I'm sure many of you know, to be an island unto oneself. So if they leave Europe, they'll be an island unto themselves, following Buddhist principles. But just to have some happiness with what's going on, that really helps. So don't just look at the negative photographs. There's lots of happiness and peace goes on as well. Look at those. And it's a common little theme. If you have a garden, and if you water the weeds, what grows? Weeds. If you water the flowers, what grows? Flowers. If you look at the negativity in this world, what grows? Negativity. If you look at the positive things happening in this world, the positive things happen in this world. It's the law of nature. Anyway, there's another question, I think, up there. Or is that a photograph? Yeah. I wanted to understand how to be skillful wisdom. When is it to accept the situation and be content? And when is it rise to your patience and challenge? Yes. So, yes. If you don't always let go of wanting, if you know when to exercise your wanting and craving, or not craving, but doing things. For example, whenever I want to go to the toilet, I don't let go sitting here. That's gross. So if there's something to be done, then you give it everything you've got. When there's nothing to be done, then you let go. So a lot of time to be content and happy, to recharge your energies in life, we learn how to let go and rest. One of the problems, again, with our modern world, we know how to work and get things done and achieve. But Malaysia, even the Maha Vihara here has changed. It's been renovated. We don't just let it just rot. It's too precious for that. We do stuff. But then there's a time when we stop and enjoy the benefits of what we've done. Point is, people don't know how to stop. They keep protesting, demanding, keep wanting, and sometimes that's part of the problem. It's a long-term thing, and we have to know how. We'd never get depressed or angry. And the old simile, there we go, I'll use this one. How heavy is this, what is it, apple juice? How heavy is this bottle of apple juice? Don't try and think in grams or in ounces or pounds. The longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. After 1 minute, my arm will start to ache. 2 minutes, it will hurt. 3 minutes, I'll be in agony and a very stupid monk. What should I do? Thank you. What should I do when it starts to get too heavy to hold comfortably? You don't need to throw it away and renounce it. You just put it down. Just for a few seconds or half a minute or a minute. And once you put it down for a while, when you pick it up again, it's easier to hold comfortably. This is the stress of modern life. It's not that we're holding too heavy burdens. We don't know how to rest, to put them down. To relax for a while. So once we learn how to balance our life with relaxing and really relaxing, I don't mean scrolling on your machines. I don't know here in Malaysia, but in many countries, that if you're, say, one of these people who drives these big motorcycles, like the Hells Angels, they call them bikies. And if you're a bricklayer, they call them a brickie. And if you like food, they call you a foodie. So what do you call people who communicate only on iPhones? Phonies. Yeah. They're phonies, always doing something with their fingers. Anyway, so we don't know how to rest. And that's one of the biggest problems of our modern world. if we know how to rest, to recharge our batteries, to put things down, then number one, when you pick it up, we're not so tired. Tiredness causes frustration. Frustration causes depression. And anger, so anger first, and then depression. And then we get so fed up, trying so hard to right wrongs and change things in this world, but not spending enough time appreciating what we've already got. Balancing that is a way. Because I do work hard, but I know how to relax hard as well, in the sense of still my mind and meditate. It's one of the tricks you learn, which basically I want to share with everybody. So often, your plane is delayed, or that something happens and you're late for an appointment, you don't get enough rest at night time, could be jet lag, which obviously I must have somewhere. So all of that can sometimes make you tired. But the trick which meditating monks have is you just can go to a quiet room for half an hour or an hour and really get into your meditation. Make your mind really peaceful and still. Because there's something which you discover that when you relax, really relax, you don't do things, you hold your mind still, energy starts coming back. Your mindfulness increases in its power, and with it, a lot of joy and happiness. So these are ways modern people, if they can only have like half an hour, lunchtime, alone, meditating, just for still the mind. You come back afterwards, you're full of energy, if you know how to meditate properly. And also you can do your work, you get back home, you're not such a pain in the neck for the people you live with, and also you're innovative. You see other ways of dealing with the problems of life. So that's how you change the world. As people have said for generations, by changing yourself first. Then you can change the world. So I've done things like that. You made a difference. And making a difference is not by fighting, not by criticizing people, not by demeaning them. Psychologically, that doesn't work. Even in business. Because running a temple it shouldn't really be like a business, but there's many similarities. When things go wrong, the problem goes right to the top, and you have to fix it. Personal problems, all sorts of difficulties, like recently a burglar came into Bodhinyana Monastery where I live, and he stole from the workshop. And in the workshop, the monks, my monks, we work very hard. We do chainsawing, we do building, we just do all the repairs. And it's only when I get old, because I used to love doing the work in the monastery. The last time I could do any work was actually fixing some plumbing on the roof. So I climbed up on the roof, and somebody took a photograph of me on the roof. And after that, they banned me from going on the roof for two reasons. Said, Ajahn Brahm, you're too valuable. What happens if you fall off? But even worse, we're not sure the rafters can support your weight. But I could work after that, which meant you probably got more weighty. But we do a lot of work, and so burglars came, and they stole chainsaws, drills, generators, all expensive stuff. So when we found out, what's the first thing we did? We said, the burglars can steal the tools, but I will never allow them to steal our happiness, our peace, our forgiveness. I won't allow that. They can take stuff, but they won't take our Buddhist principles, our kindness and forgiveness. And anyway, you know what happened? We never found the burglar, unfortunately. I'll tell you why I really wanted to find him. Not to send him to jail or anything, because all those tools were insured, and so from the insurance we got new tools, much better quality, much more modern, and it was actually cheaper. We came out with a profit on the event. So I really want to find out who that burglar was, to invite him back again when we want to upgrade our tools the next time. But you have that opportunity to get angry or just make use of the occasion. Do it better next time. But never allow people's bad behavior to steal your happiness or to steal your Buddhist principles. Okay, I don't know if that answers the question, but best I can do. I'm jet lagged. In the Rains Retreat, because of ordaining bhikkhunis and supporting equity in Buddhism, I got an award from Queen Elizabeth. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And that was for services to Buddhism and gender equity. It's the Order of Australia medal. But I was a bit concerned because it was made out of gold. It was 95% gold, this little medal. And I thought, monks can't receive gold. And then I found out it actually never belongs to me. If I die, it has to go back to the government. They have to cut costs, all governments in this world. So I use that as an excuse to accept it. But it wasn't for me also, it was for the community, for Buddhism. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Ajahn Brahm. Thank you for being with us here today. I came across one of your stories about this principal in Australia who implemented quiet time with students, and it actually had a good impact, especially when there was a conflict. The students were asked for quiet time. So since then, I started practicing daily meditation, especially when I'm going through a negative emotion like anger or frustration.
Yeah.
However, recently I also came across a video about this Tibetan monk. So he shared a story about himself when he was 21. He was going through traumatic pain, depression, and all emotionally and physically. So he went to Tibet and became a monk and learned meditation. And then he got addicted to meditation. But as he meditated, he got more and more depressed, and he realized he was sinking further. And he consulted his Tibetan Lama on how come he's feeling worse. And the Tibetan Lama said that it is because he is actually going through, he's actually going after a certain high or chasing after a peace, just like normal humans we go after senses. So it is because of that it didn't do him any good. So is it advisable to resort to meditation when we are going through emotional upheavals, frustration, and anger? Probably you can share your thoughts on this.
Yeah. I've been teaching meditation for I don't know how many years now. The first time I taught meditation, I only remembered this when I was over in England, because we taught a retreat in Devon. And when I was a school teacher, I taught in Devon. And this was 1979, 73 or something, 72, 73. And all the schools, they would have a morning assembly. So the principal would actually give any instructions for the day, make any announcements, and one of the teachers would do something like spiritual or something meaningful for the morning assembly. And so when it came to my turn, this was boys and girls school, high school, 11 to 17, 18-year-olds. And so when it came to my turn, they all knew I was a Buddhist. And I asked the principal, is it okay if I teach meditation? He said, yeah, give it a try. And so 650 children in the assembly, more than is in this hall here. And I went up to the stage, and I said, I'm going to now teach meditation. So I want you all, they're already sitting on the floor, cross-legged, straighten your backs, chin in, close your eyes, your hands on your lap, and now watch your breathing in, watch your breath out, with a few more instructions. And this is not just exaggerating. Those children were so quiet for 5 minutes. No one said anything for 5 minutes. And when they came out of meditation, spontaneously, I never saw them do this before. They broke out into applause. Somehow or other, not knowing anything about meditation in 1973-74, you got to them. They felt peace. Every one of them, from 11-year-olds to 17-year-olds. And it worked. And I did that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because it wasn't really the done thing at the time, and because other teachers wanted to do different things. But way ahead of my time, I taught meditation in school. And that was a long time ago, and it was really positive. So there are some people, if they really are clinically depressed, to the point of suicidal, then you do something a bit more drastic than just teach meditation. But I've never seen in my life as a teacher of meditation anyone get any negative effects from meditation. As long as it's done properly, then even through negative times, you get through them. It's easy, because you get some space. This is one of those similes which I developed. How big is my hand? How big is my hand? It's now so big I can't see the chief, I can't see any other Sangha, I can't see any of you, anything except my hand. Is it my hand's fault? Or is it because I've lost perspective? When I put my hand where it belongs, at the end of my arm, it hasn't diminished in size, but now I can see my hand, and the chief, the Sangha, see so much more. It's perspective is the problem. So when we get depressed, when we get negative, when we get sort of anxiety, fear, we have a little method just to put it where it belongs. You're not diminishing, you're not saying it doesn't exist. You're saying there's more to life than that. Much more. Now, this is something which I get passionate about, how to change the world. But whether it's prisoners in jail, people with autism spectrum disorder, people who have been traumatized, abused, people who have schizophrenia. I've never met a person who's schizophrenic. I've met people who have experienced schizophrenia. But to call them that label as if that's all there is of them and nothing else, no. And that was confirmed once when I gave an inspiring event. It was at the Mental Health Conference in Singapore. It's actually the 50th anniversary of the Mental Health campus over in Woodlands to the north of Singapore. And there, after I gave my presentation, this gentleman who was a Catholic, devout Catholic, he said, "Can you please, I'm the professor of schizophrenia in Singapore, the head, the boss, and I want to invite you to my unit to give a blessing." So what? You know, you're Catholic, I'm a Buddhist, you want your unit blessed by a Buddhist monk. And he said, "I want it blessed because of what you said in your talk about there's no such thing as a schizophrenic. There's a person, people, who exhibit symptoms from time to time of schizophrenia." And of course I was really intrigued. I want to find out what he was doing as a professor, as a boss. I said, "How do you treat schizophrenia in Singapore, in your unit?" The professor said, "I do not treat schizophrenia." Just like you said, Ajahn Brahm, in your talk, which is why I'm inviting you back to my place, to the unit. I treat the other part of the patient, which is not schizophrenic. And the monks would know this. We're not supposed to do this. I worshipped him, put my hands up, sadhu, 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 just because of respect and knowing the pain and the disruption to people's lives schizophrenic tendencies produce. And to see someone who's got some ideas, not the old ideas, but really great ideas of how to tackle that problem. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And of course I also asked him, what's the results? And I remember him saying, much better than conventional treatment, much better. There's people like that who encourage me to give ordination, not just to women, but to people who suffer clinical schizophrenia. And there's one monk I've got now. He's a terror now. And no one would ever suspect he's a clinical schizophrenic. Brilliant man. And, I'm so proud I gave him that chance. He lived up to it. And he's living a really good life as a Buddhist monk. His meditation and mindfulness give him an idea of the symptoms when he's not always schizophrenic. This is the point. Symptoms arise due to causes. And when he finds out those causes, he can actually balance his life. I'm going to get into trouble here. There's no such thing as a corrupt politician. Of course there's not. There's politicians who sometimes act corruptly. There's a big difference there. So, how about treating the other part of politics? The politicians when they don't act corruptly. And putting that in the newspapers, headlined. Instead of always focusing on the negative part of people who have power. When you expect, or rather encourage and praise the goodness in people, goodness grows. I already mentioned that medal I got, this in September. I got another medal even earlier. It's called the John Curtin Medal. And that was for, again, community service, vision, leadership of our Buddhist society in Western Australia, which has done a lot. In a place which hardly had any support when I first went there. Done a lot there. And it's called the John Curtin Medal. Now, when you have those medals, you're supposed to get up and give an acceptance speech. When I got that medal, I think 2004 or something, the acceptance speech was, "Thank you very much, it's a great honour. I don't know why you chose me to get that medal." There's many people in the community doing much more meaningful work than I'm doing. And also I said, I couldn't have done that without the help of all my fellow monks, nuns, supporters, but thank you anyway. And what I noticed, that I was actually refusing praise. There was some, I'm just being objective about this, there were some very smart professors, lecturers in that university who had actually gone to extreme lengths to find out who deserved it that year. And somehow or other they chose me. By saying I don't deserve it, I was saying these people's hard work was wrong. And number two, I thought, why can't you accept praise? Because I was taught as a young man, if you receive praise, you'd get a big head. I haven't got a big head. I've got a big tummy, yeah, but not an oversized head. But I found in my life, every time you accept praise, you don't get big head, you don't get proud. What you want to do is you want to do more of the same. You want to work even harder because you realize what you're doing is having an effect. So imagine what would happen if we spent more time praising our leaders. For what they did which was useful and good, and less time criticizing them. Imagine if you spent less time criticizing your husband and more time praising his good qualities. Imagine you spent more time praising your children rather than telling them their grades weren't good enough. How do teenagers feel? Sometimes they are lazy and need a bit of encouragement. But so often they're trying, they want to do well, and all they get is told off. Have you ever had that in your life? Whatever you do, maybe from your boss at work, it's never good enough. You can do more. Does that make you work harder? Or does that make you depressed and angry? Imagine your boss told you, well done, magnificent effort, thank you so much. It's amazing having you working for us. Would that make you lazy? You just want to do more, to get more praise from a boss like that. So, I don't know, but the Venerable Chief Dhammaratni done such an excellent job. Taking over from the, Dr. Kesri Dhammananda, who was a legend. Taking over, an excellent job, well done. That means he does more of the same. And all the presidents of this temple, do you think it's an easy job being in the committee? A difficult job. It's such a sacrifice of time. What praise do you get when you're on the committee? Nah. But it's a great sacrifice. So please praise your leaders more. And when you receive that praise, I'll try to teach people this. When you receive praise, you say, yes, thank you, I deserve that. So anyway, that's learning just to change things around. The old ways are not working, are they? Always criticize people, telling people they're corrupt, they're lazy, they're incompetent, and you get more incompetent people in this world. Try it, see what happens. There's some very deep psychology, and also schizophrenia, autism. There's much more than that. If you see the other part of them and treat that, bring that out. Oh, you've got a beautiful human being. They call it, I think they call it these days high-functioning autism. They still exhibit autistic behavior, but high-functioning, which means they do incredible stuff like mathematical geniuses. And it'll help the community a lot, just find a little place where they can fit in, where we can fit in. Anyway, I told you that you ask a question, it takes about a 2-hour answer. Sometimes I tell people when I get in front of a microphone I can't stop speaking. It's a psychological condition which is healed. I already mentioned that society, didn't I? I'm not in public. The society I did at the beginning, didn't I? On and Anonymous. No, I didn't. Okay, you know about Alcoholics Anonymous? And these other societies where people just get an addiction. I'm going to start a society called On and Anonymous for people like me who talk too much. Anyway, next question. Thank you. Here we go. Oh, the other gentleman in red. Yeah, come on.